The following is a Papi Chulo Radio original program. The views and opinions expressed in the commentaries and/or interviews in the following program are solely those of the individuals and are not views of Papi Chulo Radio, its parent, affiliate, or subsidiary companies.
Welcome, foolish mortals, to Horror Hotel, a PapiChuloRadio.com original series, Papi Chulo Radio, Pop Culture on Demand. I am your host and hotel owner, Jeffrey Aruz. We're so glad you could check in. We've been dying to have you. Here on Horror Hotel, we are going to explore some of Hollywood's scariest, most frightening, and creepiest films. Please welcome my co-hosts, Concierge Supervisor, Cynthia Boyede.
Hello.
And Night Auditor, Mark Estes.
What's up, what's up? Sweet to the sweet.
Yes, I've heard that before. Before we head on over to the ballroom, let's stop by the front desk where one of our bellhops has a few special announcements.
Good evening. We thank you for your patronage. Please step all the way in, and make room for everyone. There's no turning back now. I didn't mean to frighten you prematurely. The real chills come later. Like us on Facebook, facebook.com/PCR Horror Hotel. Follow Papi Chulo Radio on social media. We are on Facebook, Instagram, Tumblr, Twitter, and YouTube, at Papi Chulo Radio. For more information on Horror Hotel, visit papichuloradio.com/Horror Hotel. Do you have any questions, suggestions, comments, or concerns? Email us via contact@papichuloradio.com. Help support Papi Chulo Radio financially by visiting gofundme.com/papichuloradio. Are you interested in joining the Papi Chulo Radio team as an on-air personality or blog contributor? Email talent@papichuloradio.com. Binge listen to your favorite Papi Chulo Radio programs by visiting papichuloradio.com/archives. You can also download tonight's broadcast and the rest of the series through iTunes. Just search for Papi Chulo Radio's Horror Hotel, and subscribe. Now, grab some popcorn and some snacks. You may step into the ballroom. It's time for your feature presentation.
Thank you. It's time to fire up the film projector in our ballroom so that we can discuss 1992's Candyman. Here's the official synopsis of the film. The Candyman, a murderous soul with a hook for a hand, is accidentally summoned to reality by a skeptic grad student researching the monster's myth. Y'all know what I'm gonna ask. Have you ever seen Candyman before? And I feel like I know the answer to Mark, but Mark, I'm thinking the answer in my head, but I feel like you should verbally say it.
Candyman is an annual experience for me ever since it came out. So yes, I've seen Candyman.
Yes, he has an apiary outside his house, so.
I don't fuck with bees.
Oh, okay. Cynthia, what about you?
I have not. I know. Shocking.
Well, sit down, Mark, because I hadn't either.
Oh my god, y'all. Oh.
But here's the thing. I knew about Candyman. I don't know if Cynthia had heard of Candyman. Had you?
Yes.
Okay, see, I knew
Yes,
about
yeah.
Candyman. When Candyman came out, I was a kid, and that looked creepy as fuck. So I'm like, I'm not watching that. Because I don't fuck with, like, the concept of, like, Bloody Mary and, like, that kind of thing. And so, like, when you have a character where you say their name, like, Bloody Mary, I think it's 3 times. Like, Candyman is 5
Yeah.
times. I'm like, I'm not really fucking with that and the whole mirror thing. And, yeah, no. No bueno for me, at least when I was
So
a
we're
kid.
not playing Candyman tonight. I thought we'd end with that.
Oh, okay,
Playing
you
Xmas.
can.
Wow, thanks.
Yes, and it was like the whole thing with like Bloody Mary when I was I think I was like in 4th or 5th grade, and like everyone was talking about it for some reason in the school. And like I was like, if y'all want to do it, you better do that shit in the school's bathroom. So if she's going to get unleashed, she gets unleashed at school. She doesn't get unleashed in your house.
Wow.
Yeah,
Wow.
I've never got too far with playing with those types of games. My cousin locked me in the room one night and she did the Bloody Mary thing. When I
What?
tell you, yeah, she was in the room. She's deranged. So we was all she was over all of us. So she was like 13, 14, 15, something and we were like 8. And so she would start saying Bloody Mary and she closed the door and like cut all the lights off and I swear to God, I was panicking because you could actually see something forming in the mirror. And my scream sent every parent inside the house to the back room because I was kicking that door and screaming, and then they were like, "What the hell are you doing to these kids?" And I was like, "She said something about Bloody Mary, and I don't know what's going on." Something in the mirror.
Lord,
Wow.
Mark was unleashing a portal in his bathroom, in the bedroom, or wherever.
I don't play with stuff like that. I don't like saying Beetlejuice 3 times.
Oh, see, he would
That's,
be fun.
oh
What?
no. No, Beetlejuice probably get
Beetlejuice.
all killed. He'll be fun to like. He's like the bitch of Cat in the Hat. Like it's all for the games that somebody loses their head, literally.
Well, yeah, that's true.
But Candyman, when that movie came out, I was like, don't play with me with this shit. Don't do it.
Yeah. Well, let's jump in the line, everybody, and let's chat about Candyman. And I feel like we have to talk about the actor, Tony Todd, who is, like, infamous because of this role. Like, you know, he is Candyman. I feel like because of the movie, like, he is, like, so tied into the horror genre. It's always great to see him pop up in other horror movies. I'm like, it's Tony Todd. Or to hear his voice, because his voice is iconic as well. Let's talk about Tony Todd. What do we think of him as the Candyman?
Like, yeah, he owns the role. It's his role. Can't nobody else play Candyman. Lord forbid if something happened to Tony Todd, it was like, just don't even look at remaking Candyman. Period. Do you know who they wanted to cast at first for Candyman?
Who?
Ooh.
Eddie Murphy.
What?
Oh.
They wanted to cast Eddie Murphy, but he was too expensive, so they got Tony Todd.
See, that would have been like funny Candyman.
Yeah. That'd have been like the It that just came out. Pennywise.
No, that would
Yes.
have been like the original Pennywise with Tim Curry. Because I don't think the
Um,
current Pennywise is like funny, right?
he is funny.
Oh, he is?
Have you seen it
I
yet?
haven't seen it yet.
You
That's not a
should.
movie that I'm rushing to the movies to see. That's something I can wait
Yeah.
until it's on Netflix, to be quite honest.
Okay. Yeah, wait. But like
No.
he does this funny dance, like, and you're just like, what are you doing? Is this your life really?
Oh, that's funny.
I loved him.
You love the dance?
I laughed. Have you seen the remake video, the remix videos of him dancing just Pennywise always on beat? No matter what song you put on, he's on beat.
I need to watch that.
Oh, that's funny. I'm gonna have to look for that too. And the co-lead of the film is Virginia Madsen as Helen Lyle. What do we think of her as Helen?
Hmm.
She gave off this ingenue, especially in the scenes where he was mesmerizing her.
Yeah.
It was just like she was like. It took me back to like 1940s, 1950s when the beau was talking to the lead woman in a black and white film, and she just like, oh my God, I
Oh,
am so enthralled in everything you're telling me right now. But she sold it. She sold it. Like, how can you hold that face and then shed a tear? I mean,
True.
She sold that role, and I mean, everybody's talking about like Candyman and Tony Todd being like, the Candyman. I cannot see Virginia Madsen in anything else, but I'll be going back to seeing her in Candyman, because that was my first thing I had ever seen her in was Candyman. And
Okay.
now, I mean, she's done numerous roles since then. She's been in tons of movies, but I just always like say, look at Helen looking out the mirror over there. Just I love her. I loved her in the role, and she was believable, especially when she was playing the skeptic. When she went to meet with Cabrini Green, the Cabrini Green residents, and she was just not scared. But at the same time, she had to be humbled. You know what I'm saying? And so she sold all of this. She sold the nothing can touch me, character. Then she sold the whole hysterical, like what's going on. Then she sold the whole, okay, my life is pretty much over right now, so let me just go ahead and just see what the damn dude's talking about. She sold all of it. And in the very end, she sold it too.
Yeah, I like her. I like her, period. I think she's usually really good, whether she's playing sort of like the heroine in a movie or whether she's playing like a really dark, twisted, character filled with secrets and stuff. Like, she does a really good job, period.
I think I hated her character, so I hated her. And that's a good thing, because it just shows how, like, hard it was to separate her from her character.
Why did you hate her?
Her
Yes.
character?
Mm-hmm.
I don't know. I was just
She
like,
was
are
messing
you
with shit she
stupid?
shouldn't have.
Yeah, like, are you stupid? And, like, there's a child or your life. It's your fault the child is there. Like, I would be like, okay, you know what? Just take me. Let's do this. She's like,
You got
no,
you
I
got a good
pray
point.
to God. Yeah. So she's a great actress.
Well, there you go. What did we think of the look of Candyman? Like, from the costume to the hook to the bees and that scene where he opened up
Oh,
his coat and showed
yeah.
her his like rib cage covered in bees, like everything. Like, you can't be a person that's scared of bees to be in this movie, because the bees were all over the place. And this was 1992, so those were not like CGI bees.
Yeah. A part of me is growing up. I know some of my friends just joke like, "Why is the only black slasher villain that we have? He is dressed like 1970s, 1940s, 1970s pimp." You know.
You know what? He was pimpalicious, if you think about
Yeah.
it.
Yeah, but I look at it as it's Chicago is no joke in the wintertime. He needed that coat. He might be dead, but he's already cold, so he
Oh
just stays
my
like.
gosh.
And then being in Chicago, in that area, it's like extra cold. So it's just like, I gotta wear this coat. But it enhanced, this big ass coat dude with this equally big hook. It enhanced the creep factor.
Yeah.
Because trust and believe, I turned around and saw somebody. Okay, like the dude who was the fake Candyman. I've been like, okay, that's some pleather, and it's whatever. But it's like he was intimidating, but to me, I don't think he was as scary as like you turn your back, you see this man, this tall man, this big coat, and these spit shine shoes, and just this deranged look on his face. Talking about some be my victim. I think I'd have fainted. He would have had time to sit there and get all the mesmerized and stuff like that. I think I would have fainted. Oh, boom, just hit the damn ground. It was intimidating. It was scary, just the look.
Good grief. That fake Candyman, like, he was so whack. Like, the only thing scary about him was the fact that he was crazy enough to be, like, carrying around a hook and to do Candyman type stuff. But, like, I was like, come on, man. Like,
What you doing?
hashtag choices.
Choices.
Yes.
You know what I found striking was when he picks Helen up, the Candyman, and he's taking her to the altar. It just like clicked in my head that just the way everything looked, that it was like a horror version of Beauty and the Beast.
Oh.
Yeah, and so I started seeing that like she's wearing this blue scrubby looking thing, and he's wearing the brown, and he's huge and hulking, and he's the beast. And she's like, beautiful. And he's like, promise me you'll come back. And now she's finally coming back, and everything, their empire has been built again. Maybe I watch too much Disney movies, but yeah.
No, I like that. I like that, Cynthia. That was I like that.
It's a
That was
tale as
hot.
old as time.
Is that Beauty and... Oh, yeah, it is.
Yes. Okay. Now, as far as the mythology, I give the film props because they did a really great job at, like, creating the Candyman mythos, I think. Like, we got a little bit of a taste of it as far as, like, the urban legend mythology in the beginning, but then, like, we got sort of, like, the full breakdown of, like, the historical account of what happened. What did you all think of, like, the Candyman storyline as a whole? Like, what happened historically as well as how that morphed into an urban legend?
I loved it. But here's the thing. Like, that was all... Candyman's based on a short story by Clive Barker named The Forbidden, if anybody didn't know that. I read this short story. It was set in Leeds, England, if I'm not mistaken, or some part of England. And I don't think it was and of course Candyman wasn't black. You know, I think he was just like this regular man who was going around just doing crazy shit. But so Bernard Rose sat there and created this whole big, not intricate, but just this tragic tale, you know, to give the villain some sympathy. Because outside of Jason Voorhees, Candyman is the only other sympathetic cinematic modern day monster slasher, who has some sort of sympathy, if that makes any sense. I don't like using this phrase, but he was a product of his time. And I like how the the mythology said how they pretty much burned him. They got his stuff to him. They cut his right hand off, and then put a hook on there. Then killed him with smearing blood. Honey all over his already bruised body, and the bees stung him to death and everything. And they burned him and spread his ashes all over Cabrini, the area that's now Cabrini Green. It's perfect, and I know we're focusing on the 1992 Candyman, but the sequels ruined that. Because for the longest time, I loved the sequel.
Farewell to the Flesh?
Yeah, I loved it because it was set in New Orleans. And the only reason why I loved it is because that mythology, the basis made more sense in New Orleans than it did in Chicago, in my personal. Because you can see that actually going down, but you're like, how the hell because I'm not saying like it could not have happened. I'm just saying like it made more sense. It was way more plausible for it to go down in New Orleans than it did in Chicago.
Yeah, not that racial tensions were perfect.
Yeah,
you know, or racial relationships were perfect in Chicago at the time, but it would make more sense in the South versus the North, basically.
Yeah, and so the way I've kind of had to deal with it, the way I had to make it make sense for me was this movie's all about and Candyman is all about the urban legend. You know, the urban legend. You know, it changes when it gets to each different people. So when the guy was giving, or Purcell was giving the history, he said the ashes spread all over Cabrini Green. But he probably but he heard it from a friend who heard it from a friend and all this stuff. So it makes sense if it actually went down to New Orleans and they said, oh, but it took the mythology went to because even in Idaho, Scream / opening theme that took place in was it Idaho or Indiana or something like that with the girl babysitting the kid. So it can probably pop up anywhere because the third movie, which was horrible, took place in Los Angeles. So
shout out to Donna DeErico.
Oh my God! Don't even remind me. That was just horrible. I was so upset when I saw it. But I'm sorry, but no, the mythology is awesome. It just the only way I've personally felt like the sequels could do justice to it is because it's the urban legend and the story. It changes. The story changes.
It evolves.
It evolves. Thank you. That's what I'm trying to get to. It evolves. So that made sense. But I loved it.
Yeah, I
tangent
thought it
there.
was neat. No, you did a good job. I thought it was neat. I thought it was a really strong backstory to the character because I typically feel like in slasher movies or in movies where there's like a killer and there's some sort of mythos about the killer, sometimes they go like the easy route and they cheapen it and they give like a stupid reason that really doesn't make sense. And this one was
Mm.
very intricate and it had layers and the quote unquote real story that evolved into the urban legend, like all of it sort of made sense, and it made sense how the actual event turned into an urban legend. And of course, now we know why there are bees, why there's a hook, why there's this, that, or the other. So I thought it fit perfectly. What about you, Cynthia? Were you intrigued by the backstory for Candyman?
Yes, I feel like this movie, they did really well in explaining why. Because there are lots of horror movies where you're just like, here are the things happening. Believe it or not, we're still going to show the movie. And this movie like did really well in explaining why. Another thing I noticed, this is not like the backstory, but as it evolved, the baby, at a point I was like, wait, how's this baby still alive after so long? And then you see him feeding the baby
Mm-hmm.
Yes.
with his finger. So like this movie was just good with not making the audience feel stupid for believing. So props to them.
Let's talk about the friend,
Miss
Bernadette.
Bernadette.
Bernie.
Yes.
I was so mad. I know it's a horror movie, and I know people gotta die, but I was rooting for Bernadette.
Yeah. To this day, even though I watched it like not even like 15 minutes, like 30 minutes ago, that scene still hurts my soul. And then when they showed just how bad he messed her up, her skin was just like her skin changed a whole different damn color. I think it was I can't describe it. It was just so disgusting. I remember as a kid that was the only scene I couldn't watch was when they showed her body. It was like, oh God, I just can't watch that. But I'm glad you brought up Bernadette because you noticed that when Vanessa Williams, not that Vanessa Williams, but Vanessa Williams and Melrose Place fame,
Yes.
and Soul Food fame, when she was talking about how white folks come around here, they don't shake. She kept y'all white folks. She kept equating Bernadette as like, oh, you one of them. You're not one of us. You one of them. And you kind of saw how Helen was like when she said, "Oh, let me help you with the baby," and Helen went into just full mode trying to like help her out and everything. And Helen was the one who was engaging in the Cabrini Green folks when they said something. She would respond, and it was like she was dragging Bernie, and it was kind of a weird. It was a weird like juxtaposition if I have to use my word. Just because usually I guess they wanted to say like, Bernadette's just as scared as Helen, but it would be like, no, Bernadette, you probably have to lead me through all this because I don't know what the hell I'm doing. And okay, this is probably gonna sound real fucked up, but that's in those scenes, it seemed like Bernadette was the scary white woman in those scenes, and Helen was just like, they don't bother me, I'm cool. What do y'all think about that? Did y'all catch that, or did y'all notice that any, or am I just
I
overthinking this
know
shit?
I noticed that, but I thought of it another way,
Okay.
of Helen being like the white woman who comes in confidently and does everything because she's like, oh, I have the power to save. And Bernadette was just like withdrawn because like she was unsure of herself and just
Okay.
didn't say anything. And like, I don't know, but like when I go to someone's house, I watch first before just jumping in and touching their stuff because I've been told you don't just do that. So it was like she had that knowledge and Helen was just like, oh, I'm here. This is my place. I'll do whatever I want. That's what I saw in that moment.
I can
She
see that.
sauntered in with her privilege.
Yeah.
Yeah, she did. I would give you that she did, and I was just like, I don't know, it just I don't know. Because back in the day, I was always rooting for Bernadette. I was still rooting for her. I just noticed just how reserved she was with a lot of the stuff that was going on. Like, she was the one who was packing tasers and pepper spray and all this stuff, and Helen was like,
She knew what
"Why
the
you doing all
dealio.
that?" She knew what
She
it
was
was.
the wise one.
Yeah, because she's like, I know these people. These are like my people, but I don't know. I'm glad I brought that up and you broke that down, Cynthia, because I saw it
A
from
different
just
way.
like I saw it a different way, but because I didn't want to see it the way I saw. I was like, no, I mean she has the right to be scared, but just like, and this probably has something to do with my own personal experiences with something similar to that, because especially working in the library and people come in, they automatically assume that I'm down with the cause and shit like that. Or they think because I work behind the front desk in the library, I'm the only black staff member that I'll always, like I'm an easy pushover and stuff. And I guess I kind of placed it on to Bernadette in a sense that, like, because I usually tell people real quick, no, don't get that idea about me, you're heavily mistaken. But I was like, girl, why don't you sit there just like confidently as Helen is, walk through there and everything. But at the same time, she was like, girl, you trying to chase an urban legend in the middle of these streets. You know what I'm saying? You can't be fucking with these streets like this.
Yeah. So, Cynthia, we just learned Mark is not down for the cause.
I didn't say I wasn't down for the. Oh my gosh, see, you be putting stuff out there and people be like, oh,
I know, right?
okay, don't do that.
That's like my expertise. Okay, no, Mark is down for the cause. All right, there you go. Okay,
It's down.
so I mean, you brought her up, so I think we should talk about Anne Marie McCoy, Vanessa Williams, not the Vanessa Williams. In my opinion, when Helen wakes up in her house, like that's when the film goes from being like this quiet story about, is the urban legend real or not and that kind of thing, to like full blown batshit crazy. Cause like when you
Yeah.
got like buckets of blood all over the protagonist, the floor, and you got a freaking, what was it, a Rottweiler's head chopped off on the floor, like this shit goes crazy. And then, I give props to Vanessa because like her reaction, like that was real as fuck. And when she attacked Helen, I was like, girl, you gonna die. And like the funny thing is that like Helen had the frickin' what was it, like a meat cleaver or something?
Yeah.
But like it took her like 25 minutes to use it. And I was like,
Helen
this
isn't the smartest one in the book.
Not the smartest one in the book, because I hear screaming. I wake up. I'm covered in blood. The first thing I'm gonna start doing, I probably start screaming too. And that's probably just like me saying like on the hindsight, like, well, I would have screamed too. But I would have ran to the room to see what was going on. But I don't know. I would not pick the cleaver because I don't know where I'm at. I'm trying to figure out where I'm at and what's going on. I probably would have stayed in the bathroom. But like somebody find me, then I'll
barricade
tell them
yourself.
what happened. Barricade myself, something. You know what I'm saying? But to go back to even to the beginning, because they broke down the scene, said that Anne-Marie had returned home and found out his blood. I'm thinking, like, did she leave her child at home by herself?
Oh.
Because that's what threw me off. Because I'm like, if you just return home and you find out his blood and you don't see your son, then I'm like, well, who was there watching the kid? You know what I'm saying?
Okay, we need Candyman, losing Isaiah. Where's Jessica Lange when you need her?
Yeah, I mean, it's just, but even still, it's like that's the thing that bothered me the whole. Every time I watch the movie, like who was supposed to be watching the kid? Is somebody? Because I was expecting every time. I mean, when I first saw the movie, I was expecting to see another dead body inside the house, and
Yeah,
then,
like the babysitter.
like the babysitter or something like that. But and then the child, but there was no other dead body in there. So I'm like, first of all, how did you get into my house? Second of all, like but she was in a state of like, trying to figure out what happened to her kid. But it's like, bottom line, where were you at when why was this kid home by herself? Go ahead.
What if she went to borrow some sugar from her neighbor? That would explain why her door was unlocked.
That's true. That's true. But you know what? I'm a follow up with the fact that she sat there and trailed them into Ruthie Jean's apartment, and the baby was up in the apartment then.
Mm.
And he started crying. She said, "Oh, my baby." I'm like, girl, don't leave him by himself. And Cabrini Green, what is wrong with you? All this stuff they were talking about Cabrini Green was true because I had a cousin who stays in Chicago, and they used to tell me every time I watched that movie, like they got that down to the T. Cabrini Green was nowhere that you want to be stuck at night. Period.
Oh,
But
well,
now
damn.
it's been gentrified all to hell. So, but they said Cabrini Green was no joke. They said that was the thing, the movie that really scared them the most. Screw Candyman, I'm scared of Cabrini Green.
Well, Helen gets sent to the psych ward because obviously all like the attack, the disappearance of the child, the murder of the dog, like all of this is being pinned on her, and Helen gets the idea to call upon Candyman to can free herself from the psych ward. And then we get what was, in my opinion, like the craziest, most brutal death of this fucking movie. Because, like, how this man died, like the shaking and like the blood from his mouth, and like that shit was crazy. And like all the bounce in action, and like that was crazy. Then the Candyman frees her, and then he does like the most spectacular exit ever.
Yes. Yes.
Like that whole thing, like that must have been fun. Like if I was Tony Todd, that's like the fun day on set because you get, you know, wires and you get pulled back and you're
Yeah.
breaking glass, and I mean that was spectacular. Spectacular. I love that scene so much.
Yeah. I kind of would have been like, no, don't free me. Don't free me. Let them see.
You know, that I was tied down.
Yeah. And I didn't have nothing to do with this, but he freed her. But at the same time, do y'all really think this small, and I'm not saying because of her, I'm just saying like this small white woman could just really eviscerate this man and him and nobody like from behind.
And where
And
did she get a hook?
where would she get something that strong to do that with? You know what I'm saying? And I was like, I'm like, Candyman, I see what you're trying to do here, but I don't know about that one.
That's
And
too
like, what
funny.
was she thinking when she was like, oh, I can prove I'm innocent. I'll call him for you. Like, bruh. Like,
Yeah, as
seriously?
if like he's not gonna die once you call
Yeah.
him.
Like, even when you don't call him, he appears and kills people. And you're like, you know what? Let me call him for you, you know? Honey.
Yes.
I'm like,
Yeah.
oh, Helen, I don't like you at all.
Oh.
But I kind of was looking at the dude like, cause see, I could not be a psychiatrist because she would be like Candyman. She would have made it to 3. I said, okay, you need to stop with that right now. Let's discuss, because I mean, because stuff is not adding up here. So you might be getting framed by some supernatural being. I don't need him in my office right now. So let me stop you right there. We're gonna take your word for that. Now here's some prescription for something. We're gonna send you back to your room. But I don't need you calling him. Like, no, don't call Tyrone. Don't call Candyman. Don't do it.
That's too funny. We're gonna save the husband
Oh,
until the end because that has to deal more so to the end. So let's talk about the climax of the film. So we find out that this woman from like the history of Candyman, like the reason that he died, this white woman that he fell in love with, and that he ended up fathering a child with, resembles Helen. Like she might be sort of like either a descendant or maybe the reincarnated version of this love that he had, and so that's why he's drawn to her. I mean, there's this whole he writes it out basically for her. You know, it was always you, Helen, and so there's this bonfire that was created, and in the middle of the community bonfire is baby Anthony. And so, like, one of the reasons why Candyman has been, like, in full force is because of Helen, to be quite honest, because Helen sort of discredited him. And so he needs the mythos, the urban legend, to be alive and to be feared so that he can continue to exist. And so his goal was basically to burn the community. No, it wasn't burn the community. He wanted to burn. No, he wanted to burn all the residents, right? He was going to end up burning all the residents. Yeah. He wanted to burn up all the residents to sort of like add to the mythos, but Helen ends up saving baby Anthony. Candyman ends up burning up, and she ends up getting like really burnt to a crisp, extra crispy, in the fire, and she doesn't make it out. She ends up dying, and in turn, like, her story ends up becoming an urban legend. The community actually comes out in full force because of her rescuing the baby and all that kind of stuff. So let's stop here because there's that little piece at the end, and let's just talk about the climax. Like, what did you all think of the climax of the film?
It was, like you said, batshit crazy to the balls of the wall, but it was like, at first you thought that, because he told her, yeah, I got to kill you because you're trying to fuck up my, whole...
You're trying to fuck up my life.
You're trying to fuck up my life.
You're trying to take my coins away.
Yeah, my street cred and everything, I'm going around fucking up people left and right. Here you come in and say, oh, he's not real. He is not real. Stop thinking that little, I forgot the kid's name.
Anthony.
But, no, like the young Jake. I'm talking about Jake, the little boy, the young boy, who went with her who pretty much told her where to go. She got her ass beat and stuff like that. It's not real, Jake, but in reality, it was that. But he also mentioned just how, because we see that she resembled the woman who he had the relations with that got him killed in the first place. She was like the reincarnation version of. For those who know, her name's Caroline from the movies, from the sequels and stuff like that. So she was a reincarnation of the white man's daughter who was supposed to just be painting. And it kind of took a whole nother turn. You know what I'm saying? Like, okay, so, and I think that's what he meant by it always was you, Helen. And it's kind of, I think that was the only thing that kind of like stuck out to me. It was like, first you said that you was trying to kill her because she was trying to discredit your image. But at the end of the day, it makes sense why he was toying with her instead of just like killing, like knocking her off like he did with everybody else. And because he wanted her to join him in the afterlife. And it was like, okay, I get it. But, she's not down for the cause. So, because the whole deal was for you to get the baby. And, I would join you in place of the baby because he systematically took everything away from her that she knew and loved. And she had no choice. But I thought it was a great ending. Although when it got down to the funeral, I think the first couple of times I saw the movie, I actually thought that the Cabrini Green residence was coming to bury the monster, meaning that I thought that they actually thought that she was like the Candyman because they dropped the hook off of her in her grave. And it took me just really like sit down and pay attention to the movie and be like, no, they are really thanking her for, saving baby Anthony. Because I was just like, I couldn't read like Vanessa Williams and Jake's faces because, but then I had to remember that Jake saw Helen with the baby and he looked into the fire and saw Candyman's body burning.
Yeah.
And I was like, okay, that makes sense. That was, cause I guess I had turned away or something like that. When I didn't see the little scene or something like that when I was growing up. But now I'm like, I get it. Like in the later viewings, as as a teenager and young adult, what was going on. I'm like, why everybody putting the hook in her damn grave? You know what I'm saying? Like, she didn't do that. I'm like, if I was laying in my grave, I'm like, I don't want this damn hook. Like, I would be buried with this, So, but it made sense.
Throw it out.
Yeah, just throw it out. I'm good. Thank y'all for coming though, because her funeral was very bare. But anyway, that's all I get.
What about you, Cynthia?
What stood out to me was when he kisses her with all the bees in her mouth, and then she wakes up and she's like, oh yeah, I'm fine, and let's keep trying to escape. I'm like, girl, you're dead. Like, there's no way that you could have survived how many bees in your mouth? And then he tells her, he's like, oh, you're already dead, Helen. And she's like, nope, I'm not dead. I'm still going to keep going. And it just made so much sense, like, that she wouldn't know she was dead or she wouldn't want to believe she was dead. And she's like really trying. And then it kind of, I started thinking maybe it was his plan all along for them to also worship her
Yeah.
by letting her go through all that struggle to crawl out. Because
Mm.
he knew she was dead. Like, there's no way she could have survived how many thousand or hundreds of bees in her body. So, like, you're already dead, girl. Just let it go. But then she brought herself to that level where they finally came to thank her because she saved the baby. And I think that was his plan because he did say, like, yeah, the baby's going to be all right in the end as long as you exchange your life for mine. So maybe Candyman is really smart.
Yeah, good point.
Okay, that's interesting. I thought the ending was appropriate because it's like she spent her whole, not her whole, but like the whole movie, like proving that this urban legend isn't real. And then she ended up believing, and then she ended up becoming an urban legend. So it's kind of full circle ish.
Yep.
Yeah, yeah. The ending always chilled me because it was just like, no lie, I would love to see a sequel starring her. But at the same time, I'm like, I think the only person she needed to get revenge on, she got revenge on him. That was it. She didn't have to,
Mhm.
Let's talk
Yeah.
about him. Let's do it. So Trevor, her husband, ended up leaving her when, like 1 month into her, when she was under psych care at the psychiatric hospital. He's like
Yeah.
started shacking up with one of his students, Stacy.
He had been checked up with her. It's kind of like what
Before.
Cynthia said. It's like what Cynthia said when she did not realize that she was dead, and she had to keep. She kept fighting the fact that she was dead. She didn't realize that that marriage of theirs was over because when
Yeah.
she made that one phone call to call him, their house, the bed was perfectly made. There was nobody in the shower. Nobody was in the kitchen cooking or drinking or eating anything. And when she asked him, "Where were you last night, Trevor?" and he was like, "Oh, I was dead asleep. I thought you was with Bernadette." No. And she sat there like, "Oh, okay. And it just seemed like, but the first time we saw Trevor, he oozed sleeves.
Yeah.
I agree.
She's clearly walking towards him. And Stacy, because I had to get her name right tonight, because I'm going to drag this bitch.
Stacy with an E.
With the E. She's sitting there like, "Oh, God, Professor Trevor, you're so funny. Oh, God." And then as soon as, and see, Helen saw her from afar, like, "Oh, okay." Like, "Oh, okay, okay. Let me go down here and pull rank. Yes, bitch, I am the wife." Move to the side. And you saw when she came onto the scene, Stacy just sat there in the corner like, "I see you later, Professor." And like she kept lingering. "Why are you still here? School has let out. You should be with your friends." You know what I'm saying? Like, see, if Helen had been black, she would have been drugged in the class for the other kids. Like, she would get drugged. But Helen was like, so this is something you want to tell me about Miss Stacy over here? No, it's nothing to tell you. He just doing all nonchalant. Like, no, he was so comfortable with lying to her. And so that's why it was like, yeah, it was a month, but I bet you
He'd been banging her for a long time.
he been banging her all that time. It wasn't like she just she's just like at hospital, I'm gonna go do it now. No, he was banging her then. You know what I'm saying? And then screw that. I think when Helen was sent into the psychiatric ward that night, when he let her head go, his hand rested the nearest payphone, like, "Yo, I need you to come stay with me tonight. My wife is going crazy, and I need you to come stay with me tonight. We can go ahead and get it in at my place." You know what I'm saying? She's gone. I'm free. But fuck Trump.
That's too funny. I will give a shout out to Stacy's nipples, who were in
Thank
full
you.
effect in that final scene.
I was sitting there thinking to myself, Now, how did I not see that the first few times I seen the movie? Because I was like, she
They
was just
were not
perfect.
hiding.
It was like she sat. It's like the director's like, yo, I need the nipples to be on point, like figuratively
Nipples
and
on
literally.
fleek.
Exactly, like at attention. Like I'm
Yes.
here, and I'm not going anywhere, and I'm gonna get this day of 15 minutes of fame right quick.
Yeah, right, Cynthia?
Because
Yep.
Because
Sure.
because what, Mark?
they were just here. She was just sure she was gonna be like the next ingenue. You know what I'm saying? Like
Oh my
they see my
god.
tits, and she was like one of those girls who probably sat there and told Bernard Rose, like, yo, I really want this part, and he's like, yo, get her some ice cubes.
Get
Let's see how
her
bad you
some
want it.
ice cubes.
I'm sorry, I'm not trying to offend, but I'm just saying, like, there was no reason
Oh
under the
my god.
sun for her nipples to be that erect in that whole entire movie, because it was even when Virginia Madsen was doing the strip scene and when she was in the tub, it was more along the lines of she was vulnerable. You know what I'm saying? And so it made sense though. But here's Stacy walking around just all perky and stuff. I'm like, it took me out the movie. You know what I'm saying? It took me out the movie because other than that, it was a well put together horror movie. But it just seemed like that was a horror trope just shoved in at the very end for no reason whatsoever.
That's too funny. So Trevor ends up dying because Helen,
Thank God.
I know, he ends up like saying her name in the mirror, and she ends up killing him, which I think, kind of like how Mark said, that was what she needed to do, and it's what she needed to do, and that was like her revenge. Like, I don't know if she ended up becoming a real Candyman style urban legend. There is a mural with her, and the mural was hot. Like, I thought it was like a
Yes.
really cool mural. Like, it was neat. It was like her in the white, being sort of bathed in flames, and her hair was on fire. Like, I
Mm,
liked it.
it was a hot mural.
Yeah.
Yeah. So, any final thoughts on Candyman, the film as a whole?
It was pretty good. Really good. That's it.
Yeah. Well, I'm just shocked you guys had not seen it. And I'm not saying like it's like, oh my God, I'm not like chastised. Like you should have seen it by now. But it's like it's one of those movies that you kind of can't avoid. Like they air it all the time. And I'm trying not to sit there and say y'all should have seen it by now, but it's just more along the lines of that if you hadn't seen it, then you probably knew how it ended and all this stuff because people just don't care no more about spoiling stuff for people nowadays. Or even caught one of the sequels because I know my sister saw the second one before she saw the first one because she wasn't ready for it, when the first one came out, but she did see the sequel. Um, I thought it was probably something like that. Like y'all saw one of the sequels first, and then y'all went back and saw the first one like recently.
No, when I
Is that
was
what?
young, I wasn't ready for it.
Yeah, in
Uh,
Nigeria, we had our own version of that. It was called Ayamatanga, and I wasn't able to
oh,
sleep for a while.
Oh, I need to look
So,
up I Am a Thanga.
yeah,
yeah,
I'll
me
send you
too.
the
Can you?
actual name of the movie. So, I wasn't checking to call anyone's name at night in front of anything.
I would
Oh, I need to
love to
watch
hear it.
Nigerian horror.
Yeah, it's the worst.
Yes.
It's very spiritual based too,
Kind of like
and
the Japanese horror.
yeah, I guess. Yeah.
Very
But yeah,
cool.
I guess.
What were we gonna say? Because I know you had something to say, Mark, about something in relation to the sequel.
Oh, I was okay. It was back to the psychiatrist's office. When Candyman came in and like slaughtered the dude the way he did something similar in the sequel. And not only did he slaughter this, it was a detective. And it was a man this time who was studying Candyman. And the detective actually not only did he get gutted, but he got gutted, picked up, and then thrown through the window.
Wow.
And it was a black woman detective who
Oh my.
was no. I'm talking about the detective was a man. I'm just saying that there was a black woman who was her beat was these murders 'cause they thought that the main character's brother was doing the murders, but she got her hands on the actual footage of what happened in the room. And so when the main character escaped, she stopped in the stairwell and said, "There's no way in hell your brother killed that man." And she said, "You run, you go stop whoever's doing this because that wasn't natural. So it was just like, and I think like in the psychiatrist room, you would think they would be recording their their charge, their war, their
That's so
patients.
true.
So like who like yeah, because I remember when I was going through my little psychiatrist session, they recorded every session. They would they would have a tape of whether you're recording like video or whether you're recording audio. Something's got to be recording. You know what I'm saying? That way they can play that in court. You know what I'm saying? So nobody watched looked at any of that, but I think they left it out the movie for pacing reasons, because in the sequel it was needed to exonerate the main character's brother and give her just cause know that the cops not gonna be on her ass the last half of the movie because they have a witness saying that they didn't go down like that. But in this movie, I was like, yeah, nobody sat there and thought about that. That's what I was gonna say about that. But yeah.
But then again, it happened in the span of one day, right? So
yeah, it did.
there was probably no time of ooh, this man's dead. Let's listen to the recording.
Well, there's that.
Yeah, true. Yeah, true. That's true. Plus, I just like the trajectory of Helen, how she went from there. She went straight to Trevor. And here she is chasing this urban legend, and she's living an urban legend herself. I mean, in the event that she's living, because think about it, you're too busy caught up and trying to do something else, you don't see your marriage is falling apart, or you refuse to believe it. So it was, so she kept running to Trevor, like, Trevor, hold me. And he was like, do I have to? Here you go, here. And then she's like, girl, he don't want you. But you kept running back. But I think that was like the ultimate, she had to go back to the apartment and see this floozy sitting here painting, everything is hunky-dory. Like, life is about to begin. And she had to get that last thread cut so she could just fall into Candyman's trap. But I love this movie. I watch it every year, and I always find something new in it. And I'm glad that I sat here and listened to everybody's, comments and observations. And it kind of it enhances my viewing experience next time I watch the movie, which probably sometime next month.
I like it. So since we are in the ballroom, I feel like we need to check in to see if Candyman has won any awards. And it has. So let's go back to 1992. It won the Fangoria Chainsaw Award for Best Actress, Virginia Madsen. It was also nominated at the Fangoria Chainsaw Awards for Best Actor, Tony Todd, and Best Supporting Actress, Vanessa Williams, not the Vanessa Williams. In 1993, at the Fantasporto Awards, it was nominated in the International Fantasy Film Award category for Best Film. At the Avoriaz Fantastic Film Festival in 1993, it won the Audience Award. It also won Best Actress, Virginia Madsen. It won Best Music, Philip Glass, and it was nominated for the Grand Prize, which I'm going to assume is Best Film. And then in 1993, at the Academy of Science Fiction, Fantasy, and Horror Films Awards, it won the Saturn Award for Best Actress, Virginia Madsen, and it was nominated for Best Horror Film, Best Writing, and Best Makeup. And over on Rotten Tomatoes, this film is certified fresh 70%.
Wait.
Huh? Exactly. Wow. Exactly. I was shocked too.
That other movie from yesterday or last week. What's the name of the movie that got 93%?
Oh, I don't have it.
Oh, Suspiria?
Suspiria.
Yes. Oh, God. I can't even trust Rotten Tomatoes anymore.
Oh, well.
I hate Rotten Tomatoes. It's a piece of I'm sorry. I'm stop.
Oh,
That's
gosh.
a whole other conversation right there.
Well, you can trust us, though, Cynthia, because we've got some awards that we are going to hand out. And let's start off with the Diva.
That would it would be Candyman.
Yeah, I was gonna say this too. Maybe change it to the Devo, or
There are male divas.
Yeah, Candyman.
Yeah, there are, but there's something like to be called Devos. So I don't know, but okay, I'll go with Devo. Okay.
What about the ingenue? Helen?
Oh,
Helen.
That was,
The biggest douche, Trevor.
Yes.
Yes.
The See You Next Tuesday Cunt Award. Stacy with an E.
Stacy.
Stacy, and her perky breasts.
The
And
best.
you know what? But I'm sorry. I'm sorry. Go ahead.
No, continue on.
No, I was gonna say because I can remember that line. Stacy started walking up the stairs, and then the hell was like, "See ya." I thought she was gonna say "see ya," and then when she turned around like next Tuesday, I thought I was waiting for her to say it because that's what pops in my head. Was
That's
next
too
Tuesday.
funny. The best use of nudity. Stacy's nipples.
Oh, but what about that scene
Oh, the
in
tub?
the tub?
Yeah, the tub was
Yeah.
good. That was like side
Yeah.
boob city.
Yeah, I saw a nipple.
Yeah, they teased
Oh yeah,
the
they
nipple.
teased the nipple. Yeah, we love a nipple tease. Yes. Okay. What about the barf bag moment?
Oh, it's a tie between when Candyman opens his jacket and when he kills the psychiatrist.
Oh, really? See, for me, it's a tie between Bernadette's dead body
Oh,
and
Yes.
when they kiss with the bees.
Ooh.
Yeah.
There were a lot of really
Yeah.
gross moments. What about you, Mark?
Mine was Bernadette's dead body. No, that was that made me sick every time I watched the movie, and I could not watch it every time I saw her dead body because he messed her up. Like her whole skin features just changed. Her skin was a different color.
Yeah, she got, because they say, like, when you get really scared, you turn pale, and
Why?
she was pale as
Yeah.
fuck.
I
Yeah.
think I'm changing mine to the kiss now that I think about it.
Okay.
Mm.
What about the kill of the night? For me, it was the psychiatrist, the psychologist,
Same.
whatever.
Same.
Oh, well, to me, I just like Trevor getting. It's just like, yeah, finally, damn.
We didn't get to watch it though. Wow, I sound sad.
It was sad. I want to see him get every piece of his body eviscerated.
Yeah.
Wow.
She was really tidy with the killing too.
That was her apartment. She had sat there, made that a home. She wasn't gonna mess up her. Well, she messed up the bathroom pretty much, but I guess she didn't want to have blood all over the damn place. I don't. I'm just.
Yeah.
Yeah.
All over the Pepto-Bismol walls.
Yeah, it was very pink. The moment that made you gag, for me specifically, it was the bee kiss. Although him showing her the ribcage with the bees was gross too.
Well, it kind of segued into the kiss. So we'll take it as one package. It felt like someone you're very not attracted to kissing you, but like with like wet lips and like saliva everywhere.
Cynthia's had some interesting experiences in her life.
See, there you go.
Yes.
There you go.
What about the That's So Retro moment?
Ah,
Cabrini Green from me because everybody there just looked like they stepped out of the 1980s. Like, the movie was made in 1992, true enough, but it's like they were still stuck in 1980 something. So I'm like,
Oh, that's funny. Like
Yeah,
the
it reminds me
technology
of
for me
things
kind of,
that-
like the screens, the computers, and I was like, oh gosh.
yeah.
the phones.
Yes. Now we are going to rank the film in our special categories. We've got the Screamer for films filled with scares. We've got the Gut Buster for films that are grotesque. We've got the Eye Popper for films that are visually impressive. The Grave Digger for films that lack scares. And Mind Blower for overall best in show. You may mix and match. So let's start off with you, Cynthia.
Of course. I would say Screamer, it was just, scary at times. Not every time, but sometimes. Gutbuster, it was disgusting to look at. Mind Blower, because the acting was great. And the special effects with like him hovering over her while she was in the hospital bed, that was also amazing. Yeah, that's it. That's all I'm giving. Oh, Eye Popper because of the bees.
Mark?
Screamer, Eye Popper, Mind Blower. I'm probably going out. I know it's not a gravedigger because even watching this movie tonight, I was still jumping at certain scenes because I don't understand why. I guess because I had earphones on while I was watching it, and so. But yeah, it's just a staple in horror history, and not just horror history, but Black horror history. And this soundtrack is everything. It enhances the movie, and there's not enough I can do to praise this movie. I mean, it's just a great movie, and I'm glad we talked about it tonight.
And I'm going to give it Mind Blower because, I mean, it was just fantastic. Eye Popper because the visuals were really nice. And I know you just made fun of the clothing, but I like the clothing. Like, I like the sets. I like the clothing. I like the color palette of the film. I just think it's a very nicely shot film. And Gutbuster for me because there were some really gross moments in the movie. Yeah.
Yeah.
Now it's time to rate the film from 1 to 10. It's on a hotel room key scale. The point system is allowed. And we'll go in the same order. So that means, Cynthia, you are first.
It gets 9 hotel room keys for me. Oh, hotel rooms without mirrors.
Yes.
Yes.
That's key. Because it was so great. I would see it again, many times again. Maybe I'll join Mark in his annual visit to Candyland.
Come
like
on, let's
it.
root for both of us.
Mark, what about you?
10 across the board, 10 across the hallway, 10 across the floor. I just love this movie because it was smart horror before it became smart horror, in my personal opinion. I mean, granted, Helen made some very silly ass choices, but it's that old time tale of like, be careful what you look, not be careful what you wish for, but be wary of what you look for, because when you do find it, you know, you're not going to be able to shake it off. And, you know, so it's because that type of story been told so many times, but the fact that the director could have stayed with the original source, but he kind of like went with this, you know, horrible backstory that was a kind of a social commentary back then, that kind of still resonates to this day. But that's a whole other topic. But yeah, so that's why I'd like give it 10 across the board.
I'm going to give it a 10 as well. I thought it was a very well done horror movie. You know, it had everything that I think you need in horror. You have like a really great villain. You've got a compelling story. You've got a compelling backstory. You've got some really great kills. You've got some excellent supernatural elements. Like, it was just a really well done movie, and I'm glad I finally got the chance to see it, and I will be doing the same as both of you, and I will be adding it to my Halloween time rotation, because it was just that good.
Yay, Candyman.
I know, right? So on that note, please drag your bodies away from the ballroom and prepare to check out. Join us next time for a brand new installment of Horror Hotel. Once again, here's one of our bellhops with a few special announcements.
Good evening. We thank you for your patronage. Like us on Facebook, facebook.com/PCR Horror Hotel. Follow Panpichulo Radio on social media. We are on Facebook, Instagram, Tumblr, Twitter, and YouTube, at Panpichulo Radio. For more information on Horror Hotel, visit panpichuloradio.com/Horror Hotel. Do you have any questions, suggestions, comments, or concerns? Email us via contact@panpichuloradio.com. Help support Panpichulo Radio financially by visiting gofundme.com/panpichuloradio. Are you interested in joining the Panpichulo Radio team as an on-air personality or blog contributor? Email talent@panpichuloradio.com. Binge listen to your favorite Panpichulo Radio programs by visiting panpichuloradio.com/archives. You can also download tonight's broadcast and the rest of the series through iTunes. Just search for Panpichulo Radio's Horror Hotel, and subscribe. We hope you've brought your death certificate. Make final arrangements now.
Thank you. My fellow Horror Hotel team, please wish our hotel guests and the listeners a good night.
Candyman. Good night.
Candyman. I was going to say, Candyman, good night. That's 2.
That's all I can do, because I can see my reflection.
Oh, well, there won't be a third for me. Thanks for tuning in. You may have checked into the Horror Hotel, but who says you're allowed to check out? Good night.